So, the time has come. I'm covering Devil May Cry 3, the game I have the utmost respect for. It's not perfect by any means, but it definitely has its amazing moments. Also, to see the real gameplay without being steamrolled 24/7, I chose very hard difficulty. I can't tell you it's gonna be one hell of a challenge, full of screams, frustrations, but also great achievements. I highly believe you'll enjoy this journey, and who knows, maybe you'll get motivated to try it out for yourselves. So, let's start the game.
I'm in the thick of it, everybody knows. They know me where it snows, I see it.
Mission 1 is made of a little arena where you can style on the easiest enemies in the game.
Easiest enemies in the game.
This is how good I am according to the ranking system.
Ew.
And no, it didn't get any better.
That shit is fucking trash.
With that being said, it seems that getting such a low score on the easiest mission is a curse that just doesn't lift. But that doesn't mean I'll back down. Quite the opposite. I'll show you that I can stay motivated no matter the rank. Mission 2 is where the difficulty truly begins. At first, it lulls me into a false sense of security, slow enemies and predictable patterns. It feels like I've got this under control. But as I push forward, the aggression ramps up. And suddenly, I'm not so confident anymore.
I cannot really cancel my moves, and I don't know why. You're annoying as fuck!
It evaporated the moment I died for the first time.
What? I jumped?
I'm kind of retarded.
Even worse, the boss here is no joke.
I'm scared.
We tired of playing with your ass, nigga. Today your ass is gonna die. Hey, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
It's like developers pulled him out of a later mission and said, "Here, deal with this now." I've got a special relationship with this guy. Or maybe it's more like a grudge. No matter how many times I fight him, his vertical and horizontal teleport attacks get me every single time.
Oh hell yeah. I fucked up! No!
Tell me I'm not alone in this. Because if I am, my motivation is seriously in danger. Still, after a few hard-earned deaths, I finally beat him. Let's go! Mission 3 means the very first secret mission. It's a horde of enemies you need to kill in time. To make things easier, I switched to shotgun and started blasting. This secret mission isn't that hard, so I don't suppose anyone died here. At the end of this mission, we are greeted by a massive three-headed pup. He seems to have taken note from Hell Vanguard, because his animations are as unpredictable, if not more. He can also spam attacks if he wants to, especially that ice shower of his. When it happens, I'm losing my fucking mind.
This dude! This fucking dude, bro. Spamming!
If you damage him to a certain point, he becomes angry. Because how dare you?
Oh, there's a lot of them.
It triggers the second phase where he stops caring and no longer can be stunned.
Stop fucking riffraffing. Stop riffraffing.
Because of that, I was forced into a Devil May Cry 2 strat. Because every single time I decided to get too close, he would riffraff me to death.
What? What is this? This guy is very disrespectful.
I don't give a shit.
This fucking guy. I hate this guy.
I acknowledge your ability.
You acknowledge my skill issue. Oh my god. Mission 4 feels like a calm before the storm, but don't let the calm fool you. By the end, it will test your patience in ways you didn't sign up for. Most fights here are less about difficulty and more about trolling.
We do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
Case in point, the Arch Room. 3 of those guys fire arrows like they're auditioning for an FPS. It's chaos. I don't recommend stepping inside. Instead, cheese them out from their line of sight. If Dante can see them, they can see him. It's Devil May Cry 2 time, baby.
Yeah, the best gameplay ever, bro. This game is the best.
Then there's the claustrophobic hellhole with new enemies named Abyss and Soul Eaters. Abyss is Wrath 2.0, stronger, faster and meaner, whereas Soul Eaters are the peekaboo demons that attack you only when you're not looking. That sounds like a bitch, right? Because of that, they force you into awkward and frantic positioning. I can't believe I managed to survive this fight.
If you're trying to steal Devil Trigger, I have none, so... No, I was faster.
I was fast as fuck, boy.
And finally, the boss, a giant centipede. It's often called the easiest boss in the game. Climb on its body and keep hitting its head. We both ended up with only a sliver of health left. There is no better way to start a mission than with enemies who multiply and attack you off screen.
Perfection.
They kinda remind me of the harpies from God of War. Same chaotic energy and the same endless frustration. Why do they? At least Jester himself shows up for a small boss fight, so I can whoop him. Jester pops up 3 times in this game, and each fight adds a little twist. This one is pretty damn easy, especially if you have a Royal Guard on. I went in with Swordmaster though, which wasn't my smartest decision, you could say.
I know y'all motherfuckers been waiting, but get ready. Stupid bitch!
First you need to tire him out with the guns, and then most people go in for the melee. But legends, they commit to guns only. It's Devil May Cry 2 all over. Then came the elevator. Right next to it is one of the trickiest secret missions.
This is an okay mission.
I take it back. You're forced to keep jumping or dodging constantly and attacking only when there's an opening. Without Trickster's extra iframes, it's a pain.
Okay, this is a test of patience!
I barely scraped by with 1 pixel of health left. I mean, after dying so many times, you have no idea how motivated I was back there. And finally, I reached the main event, Agni and Rudra. I thought to myself, this won't take more than 2 tries. Jesus fucking Christ, I was way off.
Anyway,
most of those deaths were because I didn't realize their guard breaks now needed 3 parries instead of 2. And for you guys who didn't even play the game, for the normal difficulty, you need only 1. Very hard.
You got me.
But joke's on you, I won't give up. Cerberus's weapon ended up being quite useful. Its ice attacks could extinguish flame weapons I had to deal with otherwise. But since charging their weapons would take several seconds and extinguishing only a few, they couldn't contain their anger for obvious reasons. After doing this repeatedly and dying repeatedly, I happened to stun them both at the same time. But I messed up. Just like Ornstein and Smoke, one of them survived and made the other power up. Somehow, I actually beat the upgraded twin without taking a single hit. That made me proud. Mission 6 is fairly straightforward. Honestly, one of the easiest in the game. Unless, of course, you're new and still figuring things out. There are 3 challenges in this mission, but you only need to complete 2 to move on. Naturally, my perfectionist brain demanded I do all 3. The first challenge is intelligence. I'll admit, I used to struggle here. The riddle completely flew over my head, and I had to pull up a guide to figure it out. So maybe do the same thing? Unless you're intelligent. The second challenge, technique, might seem tricky at first, but compared to what's ahead, it's a breeze. The spikes are manageable, and dodging them is straightforward enough. The fighting challenge, however, is where things get tricky. Fuck. Enemy starts off strong, with devil triggers, making them faster, tougher, and way more irritating. You can temporarily disable their buffs by activating 2 mechanisms on each side of the room, but the window is painfully short. Just as you're trying to manage that, the bombers show up, and they make things even worse. On this difficulty, these guys take forever to kill. I mean when they have this devil trigger shit on. And while you're focusing on one, the others will gladly interrupt your day.
I can press it.
Let's just say this challenge lived up to its name. After completing all 3 challenges, you're rewarded with a new ranged weapon, Artemis. I'll be honest, I didn't touch it during this playthrough. It's just not my style. But hey, if you think this weapon is goated, let me know in the comments. Mission 7 packs a lot in, but what makes it truly special is the anticipation it builds. You know you're working your way toward an incredible boss fight with a fantastic cutscene, and somehow all the frustration along the way feels worth it. This mission's secret mission is all about practice. Forget jumping on platforms. This time you're jumping on enemies' heads, the slowest and weakest ones that are available in this game. They are occasionally programmed to jump in your favor because your job is to stay airborne for a specific amount of time. Swinging in the air helps, but staying close to the enemies is the key. With this mission, you can master jump cancels, which is an essential skill for this game. That said, it's also uniquely frustrating, especially if you're new to this mechanic. This mission introduces summoners. Taking them out quickly is a must, but focusing too hard on them makes you an easy target for everyone else. They're basically a lesson in balancing aggression and caution at the same time. When I picked up my first gold orb, a reviving tool, I didn't plan to use it, but my inner perfectionist couldn't leave it behind. After that, I upgraded my Agni and Rudra, one of the most stylish weapons in the game, and prepared myself for the upcoming fight. Vergil. Many fans call this the best fight in the game, and while I agree it's fantastic, especially story-wise, I think his later iterations in the game are a bit better. But damn, the atmosphere, music, and cutscene transitions make this fight truly something. The arena is one of the best looking in the game, and the little details like Vergil's sword slashes, cutting through statues, make it feel alive. After taking him down to half health, he would start teleporting around the arena like a crazy pop. Chill down! Then came his premiere, Judgment Nut. However, in this fight it's really slow and easy to dodge. Honestly, Vergil didn't pull any cheap tricks, and I beat him on my first try.
Again, B, bro. I'm gonna be permanent B rank.
Mission 8 introduces one of the most demoralizing challenges yet. Its infamous secret mission. The task seems simple. Keep the elevator going up, while the enemies with devil triggers swarm you. But here's the catch. If too many enemies spawn, the elevator goes down. What's more, these guys block and fight like their lives depend on staying on that elevator. Here's where things went sideways for me. I had Royal Guard equipped, but with no XP. That's right. I walked in, thinking I could counter my way through the chaos, only to realize I was in for a world of hurt.
No! 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 No!
My plan was straightforward. Level up Royal Guard to make the secret mission more manageable. I was completely ready for the grind. At least that's what I thought. I badly assumed that leveling up a style depended on using it successfully. In reality, it's all about killing enemies and bosses. And starting from 0 XP meant I'd have to defeat an absurd number of them just to hit level 2. It wasn't until I realized how long this would take that I decided to leave the secret mission behind and focus on completing the main quest first. Back to the main mission, escaping the whale's stomach, between the acid strategically placed to ruin your day with the pitch black environment. Then came the boss fight. The whale's guts. Its weak point in the middle only appears after weakening one of its 2 side cores. But here's another catch. In later iterations, even after weakening a core, it starts firing laser attacks before the weak point opens up. You have to deal with the lasers while preparing to strike, and it makes an already tedious fight even worse. At one point, my frustration hit its peak, and because of that, I autopilot back to the boss through the longest possible route. No! A sure sign I was losing my shit. From that point on, I changed my approach. I parried its laser attacks just once or twice to charge my Royal's Guard's strong counterattack. So basically no more overcharging just to look cool. And after one more focused attempt, I finally took it down. With the main mission behind me, I returned to the secret mission with a new purple orb and switched to Swordmaster. I wanted to test if a longer Devil Trigger would make Swordmaster style viable. Since my Royal Guard was still stuck at level 1, this game doesn't hand out style levels easily. My plan was once more straightforward. Lure enemies to the edge of the elevator and knock them off. At first it worked, but the relentless waves quickly wore me down. To keep my Devil Trigger active, I added taunting into my strategy, but it was a risky move. One moment I'd be so close, just a few enemies left, and the next, I'd be lying there, defeated, questioning my choices. Is this what it's like to hit an unbeatable wall? Am I even cut to be a gamer? For a moment, I was ready to quit, but something was off. Enemies would drop off the elevator themselves, and then Vergil's voice echoed in my head. Where's your motivation? I glanced at the screen and saw it. The thing I despised most, the gold orb. Normally I'd feel like a coward for even considering it, but this time it didn't feel cheap. It felt necessary, like a final lifeline in a sea of frustration. So I hit yes, and with that second chance, I carefully began pushing every last enemy off the platform. And for the first time in this mission, I felt control slipping back into my hands. This mission kicked off with spiders. At first, I handled them pretty well, even trolled them a bit, but things went downhill fast in the open areas. I'm Snake! The archers somehow turned into Olympic sprinters, constantly dodging and running away, like the bitches they were. But I'm coming for you! Before diving into more chaos, I took a moment to appreciate one rare peaceful spot in this mission and picked up Spiral, a ranged weapon with some serious punch. But the calm didn't last. Inside, many rotating blades were getting in the way. Then I got another spider fight. The worst yet. Their unpredictable attack ranges completely ruined my Royal Guard timing, and I felt like I was in a rhythm game hell. After finishing them off, I was so fed up that I switched back to Swordmaster again. Next up was the secret mission, and for once it wasn't a nightmare. And then it happened. I walked into the next room and saw a man. Wait. A woman. It wasn't even a boss like no other. Seductive. Electric, and oh, so dangerous. Her design was so striking that even Hidetaka Miyazaki took inspiration from her for the fight with Quiller in Dark Souls 1. I went in overconfident, and all I've got was a vampiric fever dream. Every time I broke her shield, I either failed to capitalize or got too reckless, letting her recover and undo all my effort. Niven punished me hard for every slip-up, but slowly the tides began to turn. My hits became more precise, my timing improved, and I started landing solid damage during her openings. So, after what felt like an eternity of trial and error, I finally got her. As a reward, Niven transformed into a weapon, a scythe-like electric guitar. But wait, if it's still her, then... Mission 10 started with a quick red orb farming detour to unlock Niven's air raid ability for the upcoming secret mission. The goal was to collect every air orb before time ran out. Having this much devil trigger to sustain air raid made all the difference. Then came the game's dullest enemies, sine wave moving creatures with their weak points awkwardly positioned on their backs. And that's mission 10 for you. Mission 11 opens up with a secret mission. It's pretty straightforward. With a decent devil trigger capacity, you can breeze through. Just don't waste it on archers in the previous room like I did. The worst case scenario is when your devil trigger isn't upgraded at all. That's where sliding and rebellion stinger are your best bets. Next, I ran into those invisible flying parasites again. Those peekaboo devil trigger suckers. The real test came right after. Those suckers paired with Hell Vanguard and Terrible Camera. It's like the devs had a checklist of most frustrating combinations. Because of a stupid checkpoint. I'm doing the fucking puzzle again. I ended up cheesing them from the balcony. And it kinda worked. Until Hell Vanguard teleported right next to me. Once I was able to focus solely on him, the fight became much easier. Moving forward, I got to use the local railway. To kill time during the ride, the devs threw in some combo-friendly enemies. It was pretty easy until I was thrown off by some unexpected aerial attacks. Since when do they do that? Finally, I arrived at the boss room. Swordmaster with Rebellion was my loadout of choice, along with Agni and Rudra for aerial versatility. The boss's design immediately reminded me of Nosferatu Zod from Berserk, a raw, demonic form that perfectly captures that gothic, chaotic energy. The fight centered around the boss's weak point. Its eye. I focused all my attacks there. At half health, the boss introduced its signature move. Massive cage throws, but little did he know I could reverse it and deal damage back. Those cages dropped health orbs as well, which were a lifesaver during the fight. But of course, I managed to mess it up. I fucked up the timings and the last two sealed my fate. On my second run though, I locked in, countered the cages properly, and on top of that, stayed close enough to dodge its light lasers. A little more determination can make all the difference. Mission 12 flips the usual race against time on its head. Instead of a ticking clock, your health depletes gradually. The twist? You get an infinite devil trigger, letting you hit harder and heal yourself by staying aggressive. Enemies drop green orbs to keep you going, forcing you to balance speed with precision. It's a speedrunner's dream or nightmare. My overconfidence with Niven's abilities backfired hard in the Hell Vanguard room. My attacks were painfully ineffective, and by the time I cleared it, I was in a full-blown panic. I bolted through the wrong door. Seeing the railway tracks again felt like a gut punch. After that ordeal, there was no way I'd mess up again, at least not in the same room. I pushed forward into the platforming one, which turned out to be less of a nightmare than I'd feared. However, this didn't apply to the room after.
Oh my god.
I was greeted by Hell Vanguard again, and this time, its army of minions, guarding the final door. I was barely hanging to any health and eventually succumbed, because I just wasn't fast enough to manage both offense and survival. That room made me insane. I didn't know what to focus on first, and the angles were atrocious. I happened to strike luck on my third attempt, with my health hanging by a thread. Finally, I could activate the Haywire Neo Generator. I'm gonna... a device that trades your soul for raw power that was needed to activate the bridge mechanism. With the bridge finally rotated, I wasn't prepared for what came next. 2 boss fights, with a small rest between them. First up was Jester's second variation. Royal Guard made this fight smoother than expected, but his second phase caught me off guard. Standing atop a giant ball and firing red orbs at warp speed. Dodging could have been smarter than trying to be cool, I guess. Then came the demonic horse and its carriage, a boss that feels like it's straight out of a fever dream. My mid-fight realization that I hadn't unlocked double jump for Rebellion made things unnecessarily complicated. Improvising by swapping Between Agni and Rudra for those double jumps was a pain. Each phase of the fight felt like a battle of wits. His blue flames.
What is this? What the fuck?
Zavardo loop.
He did the Zavardo, oh my god. Oh my god! Oh my god, what the fuck? I'm fucked. Man, I could have just fucking roll guarded.
And relentless charges kept me on edge. What really turned the tide was a perfectly timed Royal Guard parry on his flames. After that, I played it safe. Alternating between cautious attacks and calculated retreats, until I finally brought him down. When the dust settled, the horse was finally dead. As a reward, I gained the Quicksilver ability, an intriguing new tool for later. For now though, I was just glad the ordeal was over. Mission 13 kicks off with a real chess encounter. Hostile pieces block the way, and while pawns are easy to dodge, mage pieces get annoying fast with their ranged attacks and healing of others. Timing parries on their unnatural swing animations was a nuisance. It's definitely a weird warm-up for what's to come, the brutal Tough Guy's secret mission. It starts deceptively simple with regular spiders, but then it ramps up to large spiders and finishes with Hell Vanguards. My first attempt lulled me into a false sense of confidence. I almost cleared it, but that was pure luck. Oh boy, I need to take a stroll. As I kept dying, I realized how outclassed I was. And even here was a total flop. Why did I even upgrade this thing? Eventually, I developed a strategy. Take out the stronger enemies first, so only the weaker ones were left when the Hell Vanguards appeared. But my execution turned into a disaster. I accidentally killed 2 spiders at once and summoned 2 Vanguards instead of 1.
Incredible.
I had to immediately swap Niven for Rebellion and finally unlock its double jump. But even then, death was a regular visitor. But after countless retries,
That's so fucking bad.
I focused on fighting 1 Vanguard at a time and scraped through.
Finally!
Never again. After surviving Tough Guys, I jumped straight into another secret mission. This time, the goal was to shoot down every enemy on a moving railway. Wraths tanked shots like bullet sponges, and bombers vanished after a split second on the screen. After failing so many times, I eventually gave up and went back for Quicksilver that I gained from a horse fight.
What?
Only after my success, I noticed something was off. I hadn't upgraded any of my ranged weapons for a while. The highlight of the mission was the second fight with Vergil. He showed up with Beowulf, the gauntlets I'd been eyeing since the start. It was the perfect opportunity to steal it for ourselves. I started with Agni and Rudra, and Cerberus as well, but quickly switched to Rebellion for its range and Royal Guard for its parry potential. Things were going well until Vergil said,
Rest in peace.
From here, it was pure chaos. He moved like a demon he was, forcing me to use my own devil trigger, not to attack, but to run away faster. It worked for a while, until I was out of meter. Then, he parried one of my final attacks and slashed me down. Oh my god!
Oh my god.
That was the last time I tried to choke him. Instead, I thought of countering his counters. This made me chip away at his health consistently and finally reach a rewarding victory. Though I knew this wasn't the last time we'd clash. Mission 14 is where we truly acquire Beowulf, a weapon so powerful it feels like cheating. Not long after, I had my premiere with the Fallen.
Did you pray today?
Those angelic-looking pests that everyone loves to hate. They're a combo unfriendly nuisance, with a shield on top of that. After returning via the railway transport, I ran into enigmas. The ever-annoying archers. But, with Niven equipped, I could easily neutralize their projectiles with mine. With the maze behind me, I could climb the tower and get ready for mission 15. The mission opens up with canonical cutscene of the fallen enemies, as if the game wanted to remind me how much I despise them. Quite a bold start for what quickly becomes one of the most tedious missions in the entire game, especially for newcomers. This mission is a backtracking nightmare. The entire goal is to rotate the tower to retrieve 3 key items, but without clear markers or shortcuts. It's painfully easy to get lost, and once you do, prepare to retrace your steps over and over again. If there's one reason to put up with this mission, it's the blue orb fragment at the Coliseum. Exploring any further is a waste of time and sanity. This mission is not only boring, but also repetitive and the least stylish. A solid -5 out of 10 in spirit. And the game had the audacity to call me average.
Hey yo, what the
Mission 16 had me hyped for one reason. A freshly bought Rising Dragon, the strongest move in the game. Quite naturally, I couldn't wait to test it on the first enemy I saw. But before I could even land it, they died. Talk about an anticlimax. Next up were Blood Gargoyles and Enigmas, 2 of the most irritating enemies in the game. I found a hidden door leading to a secret mission. This one was a puzzle.
After this one you pass away.
It's either a walk in the park or a tiny struggle. All you need is to start from the beam's end and work backward. I found this one pretty easy. The grand finale of the mission was the library showdown with Lady. Lady's attacks were straightforward. Slow bullets, grenades, and a bazooka firing either single or multiple rounds. Despite their simplicity, my repeated mistakes turned the fight into a drawn-out ordeal. At one point, I resorted to jogging around her just for the funnies. Eventually I got serious, and I boxed her like a punching bag. After all that, Lady didn't die. Instead, she handed over Kalina An, her iconic bazooka, a fitting reward for a jogging experience. Mission 17 greeted me with a resounding with some clunky platforming. And if you know me, you know I hate platforming. The first real challenge was Trial of Combat Enhanced Edition. Activating the mechanisms became stricter, and the Devil Trigger deactivation didn't last nearly long enough to make a difference. Because of that, it turned into a drawn-out slog, especially when Hell Vanguard made his appearance. Returning to the platforming room, I expected only misery, and yet I managed to climb up to the first floor without a struggle. This surely eased my mood. That is, until I opened the door next to me.
What the hell is this?
3 Enigmas and a Hell Vanguard, with more Enigmas ready to spawn if you weren't careful. What's more, killing them too fast would spawn a second Vanguard, and I don't think anyone likes fighting 2 of them at the same time. After some deaths and humiliating return via the platforming of shame, I gave up on honor. I twisted the camera angle to my advantage and dealt with the first Hell Vanguard in private. This was a game changer, because now I could blast all the Enigmas with an auto-lock, and the last Hell Vanguard alone was easy as cake. Practically the easiest way to get a local blue orb fragment. I don't know how, but I got lucky again and reached the next door on the next floor. The last fight with Chester added a slightly harder moveset. Even so, it didn't make much of a difference. Chester felt like a breather. We entered an upgraded version of the spiky room, slightly faster than the first one, but still manageable, no big deal. Then came the secret mission, the ultimate spiky room, faster than the last. Now that was a big deal. Without trickster style, dodging diagonally was no longer fast enough. I had to stick to pure left or right movements to avoid getting knocked off. But once I activated Devil Trigger, it was a breeze. The highlight of the mission was the doppelganger boss fight. While it's easy to drag it out by relying solely on stunning him with lights, I kept things engaging by mixing in hit stunts and deflecting his projectiles back. Pro tip: you can make his projectiles explode mid-flight with a well-timed slice. Imaginary style points guaranteed. Rebellion worked best for deflecting, while Beowulf delivered devastating raw damage. The rearranged theme from Devil May Cry 1 playing in the background was the cherry on the top, making this one of the most enjoyable fights for me so far. The doppelganger style as a reward lets you summon a shadowy clone to mimic your moves, effectively doubling your damage output. I know it's great, but I wasn't really interested in using it. Am I a baka? Mission 18 is a love it or hate it experience. Stunning level design that still holds up today on one hand, and a relentless boss rush that puts your skills to the test on the other. The first stop is the chessboard arena. The objective is simple: take out the king while dodging the other piece's attacks. It's a low-stress warm-up for what's to come. Then came the Fallen.
But what the hell, boy?
The optional secret mission here is infamous among Devil May Cry fanbase. Its platforming is brutal, almost requiring the trickster style to succeed. One misstep sends you back to the bottom, making each attempt a test of patience and precision. I took the path with rotating cubes because I like to suffer, knowing only 3.4% of players completed all secret missions does make one proud. The bulk of this mission involves revisiting previous bosses to unlock the path to mission 19. Depending on how you approach the map, you can either take the shortest route or tackle every boss for the challenge and a blue orb fragment as a reward. First up was Cerberus, and let me tell you, this fight was a joke compared to our first encounter. Armed with Agni and Rudra, his natural counters, it was oddly satisfying to dismantle what once felt like a formidable challenge. Woohoo! Next, I decided to take on Nevan. As usual, overconfidence became my downfall. After regrouping, I eventually got my revenge, and Beowulf's high damage turned the tables in my favor. The whale's guts came next, another boss I expected to handle easily. Yet, on my first attempt, I managed to die in the most ridiculous way.
I killed myself!
Luckily, the second run went smoothly, but it left little impact aside from making me roll my eyes at myself. As of Agni and Rudra, I went in expecting a manageable fight. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side. After a disastrous attempt, I had to humble down again and snipe the final 3% of their health. This thing was too easy, and fighting Vanguard was easier than his minion.
Fuck! Really?
If suffering
Fighting Beowulf was an experience. On my first attempt, I realized I didn't have Rebellion equipped. But guys, that's a critical error. On my eventual return, with Rebellion of course, Beowulf raw power still sent me back to the restart screen twice, before I finally nailed a clean win. Doppelganger was a refreshing change of pace. The fight felt straightforward, with none of the frustration that plagued the other encounters. The last boss of the mission was the horse and his carriage. This was easily the most cinematic and rewarding rematch of the mission. Using Beowulf to its full potential, I delivered high damage Shoryuken attacks that felt glorious. Of course, my first attempt ended tragically with the boss at just 2% of his health.
No!
But on my other try, I turned the fight into a spectacle with plunging attacks and strategic movement. With every boss down, I stepped through the portal, ready to take on Mission 19. Out of all missions in Devil May Cry 3, Mission 19 stands out, and not in a good way. It's not poorly designed. In fact, the level itself is brilliant. But the boss fight? It's a bizarre mix of weird mechanics and punishing difficulty that absolutely tests your patience. The mission starts with the strongest version of the Wrath mobs, Abyss, making their canonical debut. But considering we've dealt with these guys plenty of times already, they're more annoying than threatening at this point. Next, a literal mirror battle, green-tinted, fragile, and about as threatening as a reflective sticker. Yeah, I'm kinda over-exaggerating, but even though it had some health, breaking it twice was more chore than a challenge. Then there's the timed enemy challenge. On my first PlayStation 3 playthrough, I clearly remember sweating bullets, but now it was just another warm-up. A sign that this mission is saving all its cruelty for later. And finally, we reach the reason I dread this mission. Arkham, probably from Asylum. Picture this, a guy obsessed with self-help books, trying to outdo Sparta, yet somehow ends up as a blob monster. He's like walking example of ambition gone wrong. Or, as the great Dracula would say, what is a man? A miserable pile of shit. Before heading in, I equipped Rebellion for its stinger, Agni and Rudra for their aerial damage, and Kalina An for that sweet AoE. Let me just say, the environment here is stunning, the peak of Devil May Cry aesthetics. But once the fight begins, it's all downhill. Arkham fights like he's part octopus, flailing his limbs around in wide rotations and occasionally charging up red, tracking harpoons. Dodging these is tricky at first, but the key is staying mid-range and either sprinting to the side or jumping in the opposite direction. Whenever he disappears into the ground, he sends out his slug minions. They're not exactly dangerous, but they drag the fight on like a bad sequel. Once you've worn Arkham down enough, Vergil shows up like Zorro, finding his way back to the battlefield. For a very brief moment you think, this is going to be epic. And it is, until you realize Vergil's AI is more lost than he was. Sure, he can deal massive damage, but you constantly have to call him back to keep him from wandering off into irrelevance. My first attempt looked promising, but Arkham got a few solid hits on me, including a strangling move that drained my health faster than my sanity. I didn't know I was supposed to manually reposition Vergil, so yeah, I died. No checkpoint, back to square one. You're forced to repeat the entire encounter every time you fail. While it gives you a chance to rethink your loadout, the fight itself drags on forever. However, after a few more tries, I started to understand the patterns. One attempt, I tried sniping Arkham while letting Vergil do the heavy lifting. Too bad he's not that reliable. Strong, sure, but Arkham's a team project. Finally, after countless attempts, it all clicked. I stayed as close as possible, jumping over harpoons with precision, and whittled Arkham down while coordinating attacks with Vergil. With some health still in the tank, I landed the final blow. And with that, Arkham could suck my d. Mission 19 is the ultimate endurance test, a slog of trial and error, but the satisfaction of finally beating Arkham makes it almost worth it. Almost. Still be, holy shit, the grand finale of Devil May Cry 3. Thanks Sparta, we're not ending it with that miserable pile of shit. Instead, we get the climactic showdown with our own brother. At first he seemed manageable, balanced even, but then he activated his devil trigger and I got immediate flashbacks from our second encounter. His aggression skyrocketed, his moves became relentless, and his health regenerated at an alarming rate. Suddenly, this balanced fight turned into a predator versus prey scenario. Try to guess who was the prey. After my first death, it hit me. If I wanted to finish the game, I needed to lock in. There was no other way. So, I had Beowulf for its devastating DPS and Rebellion to close off the distance. Vergil apparently noticed I have Royal Guard as a style. So, he threw his Yamato to see if it's not only for show. Parry this, you casual. And for some reason I couldn't parry it completely. When his health dropped below half, he cranked up his aggression to 11. Every move from there on felt like it was designed to keep me scrambling. If I'd heard that as a kid, it would have haunted me in my dreams.
Gonna cry?
Desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's why I started relying on jump cancels. Don't shame me, this boss is fucking hard, bro. At this point I wasn't aiming for style, I just wanted a nightmare to end. Royal Guard also came in clutch. Despite some unnecessary hits I've taken, I managed to land counters that dealt massive damage. But that wouldn't be Vergil if he was done surprising me. Mid-fight, he unveiled his aerial version of Judgment Knell. Fuck! And then something unbelievable happened. Oh my god! When the final blow landed, I was genuinely shocked. To win, all I had to do was not get hit. I bet even Vergil was surprised. Mission 20 isn't just a test of skill. It's a culmination of everything you've learned throughout the game. Vergil's relentless aggression, the necessity for precise timing, and the sheer satisfaction of finally beating him make this fight truly unforgettable. And yes, Vergil, I was motivated.
Brother, look at this judgment note.
Congrats! You reached the end of the video. Feel free to join my Discord in the description.
What's up, Holmes?
And if you'd like to see more of my content, don't forget to subscribe.